Happy Sunday, everybody. So this is my beloved 1972 MG Mark III Roadster, also known as an MG Midget. I've had this car 7 years now, which is hard to believe, but I figured I'd do a video on it because truly it has changed my perception of owning a British sports car, and for a lot of reasons. Well, Captain Nugget's with us today as well, right, buddy? You want to go walk around a little bit? So, yeah, to answer your question, I've had this car about 7 years now. I did not anticipate buying a British sports car. This actually came by kind of randomness. My buddy was doing a roofing job at a ranch, and he texted me a photo of this car covered in dust sitting in the barn, and he's like, hey, you should contact this guy. I bet he'd sell this car pretty cheap. So I wasn't planning on buying another car. I had already too many projects to begin with. Inevitably, I contacted the guy, and he was willing to get rid of it. And I had obtained this car for essentially pennies, non-running, sat for several decades. By the smell of the gas, I'd guess probably 25, 30 years it sat. So it was last registered in 1993. Went through all the whole fuel system, changed the oil, all the fluids, adjusted everything, and it fired right up. And it is the same engine from when I got it in barn form, abandoned form, as it is today. This has the 1275, which in my opinion is probably the greatest engine to come out of England, but that's my opinion. When someone asks, has this car been reliable? It has been more reliable than a majority of cars I've owned new. It's been incredible. And when I say it's changed my perception of owning a British sports car, this is the car that changed that perception. It has been fantastic. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not maintenance free. These cars always require maintenance, and I'll do a quick walk around with it. But it's been very, very reliable. And what I mean by reliable is that if you asked, would you take this car on a trip across America tomorrow? I would say yes, and for various reasons. A, it is reliable. B, it's easy to work on. This car is incredibly simple to work on. The motor is fantastic. I'll pop the hood and show it to you. But overall, it is a very, very affordable sports car to own. Parts are pennies. I would say that this is relatively the same cost parts-wise as it would be to own a Honda Civic. Moss Motors, a couple other companies make it parts very affordable. A great example is an alternator for this is about 75 bucks. An alternator for a Honda Civic is about 75, maybe even more. Things that have failed on this over the years. This has not been completely maintenance free. It hasn't been completely headache free, but it's been a heck of a lot better than I ever anticipated a British sports car would be. Things that I have replaced. It has a new clutch. Clutch failed on this about 2 years ago. It is an engine out job, which honestly is not that big of a deal in my opinion. 4 bolts, a couple hours, and you have the engine out and a new clutch in. Let's see, minor carb adjustments. This has the original twin SUs, which I love. Some people hate them. I love them. It's been great. And let's see, what else? You're wondering about these rims. These are knockoffs, and what I mean by knockoffs is your typical car today has like a 5-lug wheel where it has 4 or 5 small lugs. This has essentially one giant one, and the wrench that comes with this car is nearly 4 or 5 feet long. It's huge, and you put it on there, and that's how you tighten these wheels on. I love these. Would I change that? No. Some people do, but that's their opinion. Pros and cons of this car. Well, let's see. Pros. It drives like a go-kart. It is an absolute joy to drive. People absolutely love this car. I get so many compliments and questions, and every time I'm out cruising it, thumbs up, or people are honking like, wow, what is that? And it is very, very quick, in my opinion, for what it is. And what I mean by quick is it's fun to drive a slow car fast rather than a fast car fast. That doesn't really make sense, but it's not like ludicrous speed. This thing maybe makes 60 horsepower if on a good day. It weighs nothing. It handles incredible. And I would say that this would put up a fight with a majority of sports cars in the era that it is. And it's also put up a fight with a lot of other cars that never expected it to be as fast as it was, especially in the corners. This car's main objective is to go fast through the twisties. That's its main objective. it'll do highway speeds all day long. I've done 94 miles an hour with this car. Would I do that all the time? Absolutely not. In fact, its happy speed is 60 to 65. That's its sweet spot. It handles great. It's everything about it's been just overall a really, really good car. And I think at the end of the day, you know, are there like, would I have another British sports car? Well, there's a lot of British sports cars I would love to own. But would I say they're the right ones, especially for what you're looking for? If you're looking for a car that you can go buy, do minimal maintenance to it, and it's very reliable and usually always gets you home, this is the car to own. If you want like a true British sports car experience with working on stuff, get a Jaguar E-Type V12. I mean, I would not be driving one of those across the country tomorrow, ever, I don't think, unless I had like a whole trailer set up with it. This, I would. You know, and I think that kind of answers the question of, it's a great car and it looks good. I mean, it looks so freaking good to me. I think the body lines of this car have forever like stuck with me. 7 years later, I still look at this car the same. I'm like, you just, the body lines of it and everything about it, it appeals to me. It looks so good. I have to whistle my dog back here really quick. Hey, Fuzzball, this way. No, come. He like goes on these little walkabouts, is the best way to put it. This is not the stock exhaust, if you're wondering. Stock exhaust on these sucks. That's my opinion, because I think it's like trying to breathe through a straw. This is an Anza Ferrari exhaust, specifically made for this car, and is only made for a few years. And I tracked this exhaust system down out of Connecticut. I paid a pretty penny for it, and it was sitting on their shelves for like 40 some years. And I was so ecstatic to get that, because it kind of gives it this like Ferrari California 60s vibes, which sounds ridiculous because it's a British car, but I like the look of the exhaust. The power difference, especially the torque, was very noticeable. So it was a very happy purchase. Other than that, it's a fairly stock car. The only thing that I've upgraded interior wise is the stereo, because I like Bluetooth and the old one just stopped working. The design aesthetics, absolutely love this. Tan interior, it's great in the summer, especially on a hot day. And roll up windows. It has a full top. All that works. Would I drive this in a heavy rainstorm? No, because you will get wet. I mean, the seal is there, but it's not perfect, in my opinion. So I'll show you the motor. So you got a relatively good idea what that's like. Yeah, I mean, just I like the view here where you got all the Cessnas and the Bonanza, Beechcraft Bonanza, and then this car. I mean, this car was brand new when these were probably flying, and when these were new, you know. I think that's just cool. I like vintage stuff, you know. Headlights wise, mind the gap because I just popped the hood. But hey, Nugget, I Frenched these because I love the look of French headlights. I put these fogs on, a little bit more headlights or more output, and then of course the lovely license plate. If you understand the license plate, you may get it, you may not. I'm gonna give you a few seconds there to take that one in. The best part is when people want to take family photos with this car and they have no clue what the license plate means until they probably do the family photo and put it out to their thousands of friends. And I always wondered that every time, like, can we take a family photo with your car? And I'm like, absolutely. Do you have any clue what the front of this plate means? But it's an inside joke, and I always laugh internally. All right, let me pop the hood. All right, 1275. This chassis, or I should say this model, the Midget, came with two different engine variants. The early version came with the 1275. The later version, mid-70s and on, came with the 1500, which I don't know a lot about, so I can't really have an opinion about it. But in my opinion, I still think this 1275 surpasses the 1500 as far as reliability. These motors are absolutely workhorses. They're stout. Even when things are starting to fail on them, they will get you home. And for the size, you gotta think about this, 1.2 liter, technically 1.3 liters. It's 1275 cc's. It's fast. For 60 horsepower, this thing is quick. And it's got two SU carburetors. I'm at 6,000 feet, and you'll see in the video after this when we go for a little drive how quick it is. I mean, it's not, like I said, a new Hyundai will walk away from this. A new Hyundai will be faster than this. Will this be faster than the Hyundai in the turns? It might be. I think the opinion of this car is it has a very high reward for the driver. It's a true driver's car. And that's what I love about this, is that everything about it, and it's classy, it's gentlemanlike, and it is just an absolute riot to haul into the corners, and it's very predictable, and it kind of steps out on you when you're coming into the corners, and it still makes me happy. The best way to put it is this car still puts a smile on my face 7 years later, and every time I get in it and hear that exhaust note and I'm shifting and just everything, you're very involved in driving it, but it's very comfortable as well. I've done 500-mile road trips with this, and it has not been bad at all. It's about a 6, 7, 8 gallon tank, right around there. I'm throwing a lot of numbers because I don't remember how many gallons the fuel tank is, but it gets ridiculously good gas mileage. I mean, it weighs nothing, and it's a very small motor, so it's kind of simple math. Let's see, what else? I mean, overall, it's a 2-seater, obviously. Okay, so cons. Going down the highway on this, next to a semi-truck, is utterly terrifying. Even to this day, I've never kind of fully got over that. You're right there in the tires. I mean, the thing is, I'm 5'8". I fit like a glove in this car. I'm 5'8", and this is up to my chest. The top part is right here to my upper torso. So that should give you a perspective of how small this car truly is. Yeah, going down the highway next to a semi-truck at 70 miles an hour, I feel that this car, if you were to get in a car accident with it, you're screwed. I think this thing would crunch like a tin can, but that's just my opinion. You know, I fear ever, getting in a car accident with this, because it's just not meant. It's safety standards back in the 70s, especially in England. The Queen had her tea. Crash tests were not of high importance. The biscuits and tea were. So this car I would not want to be crashing whatsoever. Brakes. It's got disc brakes in the front, drums in the rear. They stop incredibly good for what they are. No ABS, nothing fancy. There's no traction control. It's a rear-wheel drive car, 4-speed manual. Highway-wise, like I said, I've done 90 plus miles an hour in this car. 60 to 65 is its happy spot. The gears are very linear, pulls all the way through. Engine pulls all the way to the red line, which is really nice. It'll kind of flat spot towards the end. Funny fact about this engine is that it was used in the Mini Coopers that you see in the very first Italian job. 1275 was the same engine as this, as it was used in the Mini Coopers, except the Mini Coopers were front-wheel drive. So that kind of should attest how good these engines are. Parts are crazy easy to get for them, and well, enough of me talking. I say we go take this puppy for a spin, and you can kind of get a first-hand point of view idea of what it's like to be behind the wheel of one of these, and the cool factor. Right. Wind noise might be a little bad, so I apologize in advance for that, but I'll show you how to start this up, and what she's kind of like to drive. I never slam my doors. I hate when people slam doors. I don't think a car is very happy when the doors get slammed. So what do you think, Nug? Yeah, you're ready to go bye-bye, aren't you? Oh, well, thank you. All right, neutral. This is my oil pressure light. These are high beam lights. I did upgrade the stereo to Bluetooth, and I'll show you how easy these start. Just like that. Now, I love the sound of this car. I don't know if you can hear that. It's got a nice, like, low rumble. It sounds really good. The stock exhaust, I don't know. I have different opinions about that. I think this engine breathes so much better after I did the exhaust upgrade. And I would definitely do that if you own one, because the stock exhaust, I feel like, is trying to breathe through like a straw. It just doesn't work. I mean, it works, but I think it could work better. Right, Nugget? So, all right, first gear. You got first right there, second, third, fourth, and reverse is back and all the way like that. But where we're going, we don't need reverse. So, clutch is very light. This is very driver oriented. What I mean by that is shifts. The cockpit is very driver oriented, and I love that about this car. Is it's just so, the view, you know, you see everywhere, even with the top up. Obviously I didn't feel like putting the top up, but this has a top. The top works great. I rarely drive with the top unless it's like freezing cold, but even with the top up, it works. You can still see. So all right, here's our good speed run here.